All right, so step one to making a jug is to make your base. And what you want to do is, if you were to use all of this clay, the bottom of your pot would be very, very big, okay? So what you want to do is break off about, I don't know, medium-sized ball of clay. Can I have a friend grab me a cup of water? There's those red cups over there. I forgot to get one. You can. I got somebody. So what you're going to do is first roll this into a ball. And a lot of times normally you might use a rolling pin to make a slab. But for the slab we're doing, we don't really necessarily need to have one. I'm just going to make it into a ball. So if you've played with Play-Doh before, you'll know how to do that. Thank you. And the reason I had my friend get water is because as you handle the clay, the moisture from the clay actually leaves the clay and gets absorbed into your hands, but you'll also notice that the clay takes moisture out of your hands at the same time, so your hands are going to get kind of dry. This is to keep your clay moist. We don't want to make it soggy though, so we'll talk about that. So once I have this into a pretty nice even ball, I'm just going to take my hand and I'm just going to kind of flatten it out. So it's kind of like I'm making like a pancake basically. And you'll notice on the clay you see kind of some cracks on the edges. We're going to use the water to smooth that out. Now, if this ended up to be a really funky shape, like an oval or something, then you can take a nice sharp pencil, and you almost can use that as a cutting tool and basically draw the circle, or you can even trace a circle. Like we have, you know, you could even use like your cup, an empty cup, obviously, after you flatten this out. I actually may do that. So I'm going to keep doing this. I want it fairly thin. This is looking pretty good. Let me see. So I have a plastic lid here. You can use a cup. I just want this to be a nice perfect circle, so I am going to go ahead. You can almost use it as like a cookie cutter and cut the rest off. Whoa. Hopefully that doesn't get stuck in there now on me. There we go. Pull it out of there. So I barely cut any off, but now it's a nice circle. So this can go back to the rest of this ball, and what I'm going to do is, just to smooth these cracks out, just take a little bit of water and smooth it out. So notice how I just dipped my finger in there and I'm smoothing it out. I don't want to use too much water because then it's going to end up getting stuck to the cardboard. Okay? So the next step is to make a coil. Now what you can do is, it's called scoring. I need a sharper pencil for this. This one's okay. But scoring is what you do when you're going to add clay to another part of clay and you want to make sure it sticks really good. So what it is just putting a few little lines in the edge, like this. And then I'm going to take the rest of my clay, I'm going to break a piece off, and I'm going to roll this into a coil. So this is something that takes a lot of practice. You're not going to be good at it right away. So I majored in ceramics in college, so for me this is fairly easy. But what you want to do is you just kind of want to roll it like Play-Doh. You know, have you ever like made a snake with Play-Doh?
No.
It's kind of like that. So in order to make this longer, and I want to do my best to make it even, I kind of start in the middle and I slowly spread my fingers and move my hands away from each other. And as I do that, did you see how this just got longer? Now I want to be careful because there's a skinny part right here. So then what I might do is roll in other areas for a minute to try to get them about the same thickness, because I don't want to keep rolling that skinny area. It's going to end up breaking on me. Okay? So once it kind of feels all the same again, I can take my fingers and again slowly spread them out, and it makes my clay coil longer. It is pretty long. So now I take that back to my base, and what I do is I'm going to stick it right on top and work my way around. Now what I can do here is, instead of cutting it off, I'm just going to keep going on top all the way around. So I'll show you what it's kind of starting to look like from the side. Okay, so it's getting taller. Now if this is going to sit here for a minute, I might want to get it wet again. Also, something as you're making your clay pot, I want you to decide, do you like the way the coils look? Okay? Or do you want to smooth them together? So if you don't like the way that looks, seeing the different coils, you can take your finger and just gently smooth them together. That's completely your call. Some people like to leave them. Some people like to blend them together. Okay, I'm just going to add one more coil to this, and then this will kind of be my base. So I've got a little bit of clay left here. So once again, I'm starting with this with one hand. Slowly spread my fingers and move my hands away from each other to make this longer. When you were little and you played with clay and you made snakes, you probably just kept rolling it, and it eventually got bigger, but this, you can make it big really fast this way. If you feel like your clay's gotten a little bit dry and it might need some or some scoring. Okay. And a little bit of water maybe. So what I want to do here is start where I left off, which is here. Okay? And I want to go right on top of my other coils. So once again, if you like the way the coils look, which is just going to look like stripes on the side, leave them. But if you don't like them, you kind of need to do this kind of right away, because once the clay starts to dry, it's hard to smooth it out. All right, I need somebody to go get me a paper towel. I need you to get it wet and then bring it over. I have a friend bringing it. Yep. That'll be perfect. I'm going to show you what you're going to do before, how we're going to store these, okay? Thumbs up if you think you're going to want to smooth your coils out like this. Okay. Raise your hand if you think you might like the way the coils are going to look the way they are. You can definitely do that if you want. But I need it wetter than that. I need the whole thing wet. She's getting a paper towel really wet for me. So now it's kind of lumpy and stuff, so I might just take my finger with some water and just smooth it out. Hey friends. The reason you don't want too much water is because this is clay, it comes from the earth. What will happen is it will basically turn into mud, and then it will just get sticky and a muddy mess. So when it's time to clean up, we're going to be able to pick up right where we left off. You're going to definitely want to take a nice sharp pencil, and on the bottom, probably before you start adding coils, this is a little late, put your name. You can just do your initials as long as there's no one else in the class. And I do want you to put your class code, which is, this is 5IS. And then you just take your paper towel and you wrap it up in a wet paper towel, pretty damp, and then we store them with a plastic bag around them so that they stay wet.